Welcome to my TED Talk. This is Christopher. Today we're going to talk about
say how to fly a helicopter.
how to fly a helicopter. It's really simple. I do want to put this out here. I'm not an instructor, so this cannot legally be held against me. All right, let's talk about King of the Hammers. We're back in beautiful Hammertown. Feels like we were just here yesterday. Trophy truck race, 325 miles, 5 laps of a 65-mile course. Absolute chaos. But before we get into real racing details, let's rewind a little. So, first race of the year, 2025, came in here. This is exactly 1 year ago. I took delivery of my all-wheel drive trophy truck. So a lot has changed. I've become more confident in driving it. We've changed it a ton. We've learned a ton. Overall, it's been a good year in trophy trucks. So coming into this, we made a few changes after the Baja 1000, some other stuff changes, trying to go quicker, different setups for being out here in King of the Hammers. So overall, coming into it, felt very confident, felt really happy with the truck. I think me and Mike Kim were syncing well with the testing we did do with the truck. We were happy. We were very happy overall with it. Now let's talk about pre-running. So, Baja, we have weeks of pre-running. Here, very different. We have a day and a half to go pre-running. So much smaller window, but the one advantage is it's only 65 miles that we have to memorize. And overall, it was a somewhat self-explanatory 65 miles. I mean, there was some technical stuff. We'll get into that. But it was only 65 miles. Usually, I'm trying to memorize 500 miles of Baja where there's a million different lines. There's different opportunities. Here, you're stuck on course, which is good. It's 65 miles, and you're doing it 5 times. We pre-ran Thursday afternoon, Friday all day. On the end of the day, Friday, we spent a lot of time running the qualifying course, which was, I don't know how many miles, probably about 6 miles. You leave Hammertown, it's a little infield section, and then head up this really rocky, whooped out kind of canyon, and then basically go around, hit BJ Baldwin jump, which I got really sketchy on. We won't talk about that. Apparently I just misjudged a lot. So did that, you land on that, then go and you kind of race around the hill. It's kind of wide open. There's a ton of different lines. They basically said get from here to here. A lot of guys were staying high. I went for a really wide, long run. In my opinion, it was less technical. It was a lot faster, less rocks. So I was able to just kind of hold the thing wide open and just hold on. Did that a big loop around and then come into the finish, which is the same as the finish of the race, which it is just G out, rock, G out, rock, hill, blind. It was just miserable. Really scary. Really a lot of opportunities to get flat tires or just ruin your whole day. You could rip a whole A-arm off so easily right there. So for me, overall qualifying, like at the start of it didn't feel that good. Made a couple of mistakes, like I said. So at that point I was like, all right, Christopher, just calm down. Let's just focus. Let's just get a clean run. So when I got to all this G'd out stuff, I really kind of took my time. Obviously I was hustling a little, but really tried not to make any big mistakes that were gonna, I'd rather end up a few spots back than DNF or something. So did that. You get through there, then you come back in, go through the forward arch, and then hit the new double jump, which that was our first time hitting in qualifying, just straight to the big guns. Luckily in an all-wheel drive trophy truck, not that big of a deal. Unfortunately for some other people in the limited races and stuff, it has been a big deal. Ben can cut to some of that. There's been some carnage, serious carnage off this double jump. Double jump. Takeoff, landing, gap in between. We go, boom. Others, boom. Not make it. Has not been good. Great highlight videos, and I'm glad it sounds like most people have been safe after accidents. But so we ended up qualified first. I will stop rambling. Qualified first, which was awesome. Got everyone about by 10 seconds. It was good. We were happy with where we were. It was good. Meant we started first on race day. Like we started by ourselves. Everyone else started side by side, so you had to kind of race out of the infield, whatnot. But overall, good place to be mentally. So Saturday we do that, and then Sunday, race day, 9 a.m. Had to be down there nice and bright and early. Got down there. Like I said, 65 miles, 5 times. So when you're doing a loop race like this, it really, the course starts to deteriorate and get hammered and get wild after 5 laps, but we'll get into that. But me and Mike Kim and the whole team, obviously doing strategy and stuff, we knew being first on the road has its benefits, has its doubts, but overall for us, it was mentally, it was, okay, we're leading the race, we're setting the pace, let's just maintain this and let's go and cruise, and if the boys start putting on a charge, then we're gonna turn on the charge, but if not, we're just gonna maintain. We're gonna play it smart. It's our race. Essentially, it's our race to lose, which I've been in this position before and we've lost. So for me, a big part of it was like, okay, let's just play it smooth. So I'll give you a full lap, kind of from our eyes, and then we'll go from there. But since we did 5 of them, it's gonna be a little different. But here at Hammers, start in Hammertown, which is always awesome. In the infield, they have come off the start, couple jumps, through the infield, kind of short course days, which that's originally where I grew up racing, in a short course. So for me, brings it back to my roots. Loved it. And I'm doing an all-wheel drive trophy truck, so it's sick. Sliding through the corners, just letting all 4 wheels dig, which really never gets old. As you leave that, you go into this kind of rocky canyon, or like it's kind of this, like, it's by back door. It's just like this narrow kind of wash canyon, and the whoops in there were just insane. Huge rocks too, so the opportunity to mess up was just huge. So for us, we really kind of just tiptoed through there, played it safe, but I mean, these whoops were getting out of control. At that point, then you go over, drop down, kind of hop in this nice big wash, high speed, head over the hill towards kind of lake bed, start heading down towards the lake bed. At this point, this stuff had all been chewed up. A lot of qualifying racing had all been happening around here. So it was just big whoops, rocks moving our eye everywhere. So for me, I was really like, let's just cruise, Mike. Let's be smart. I act like I was doing that. Really, they were telling me that. Don't be an idiot. Don't hit a rock. But I'll take some credit here. So go down there, then you drop down on the lake bed for only a couple seconds. The lake bed was not really, we kind of just touched the lake bed and then hook a hard right back off the lake bed into some just miserable cross grain stuff. Just really just some miserable holes that kind of just got worse all day. Go through there. At that point, then you hook a hard right, start bonsaiing across the desert. This section's pretty fun. It's kind of slowly, gradually, kind of winding through. It's narrow roads with some whoops, and you're just doing like 115, just kind of getting down. Pretty fun. Overall, I like this. It connected really well. Last year we ran this section backwards, and we connected some really nice roads together, and now like actually like the lines that we helped connect were actually race courses here. So in my opinion, it flowed really well because I made the flow, but crazy how that works. But that part was really good. Head up, cross the valley, just cooking 115, just getting down, then jump into these big kind of sandy wash, well, not a sandy wash, but these almost like partial sand dunes. We're kind of on top of the sand dunes. Huge whoops though, a right and a left, and then just down, and it's just big old whoops, kind of working our way through there. And then a couple little things, and then we jumped into this new section around race mile 10-ish of just really tight rocks. And technical, which is kind of fun. That's what I like. I like the techie stuff, but this it's tough. There's big boulders everywhere. There's big G-outs. There's big drops, and you really got to be patient. There's a ton of opportunities to make like huge mistakes in here. And what people don't realize, in a trophy truck, visibility is so terrible. It's really hard to see over the hood. So when you're going up these hills and then dropping down, it was really key in pre-running to really kind of mark and, label where all the rocks are, because we come up and then you drop down and you can't see as you're dropping down. Okay, there's a 8-foot crevice here to your right, there's a boulder to your left, and then after you pass the crevice, there's another boulder on your right. So, you can't just kind of feel your way through, because if you start feeling your way through, all of a sudden you're either going to be in a hole or you're going to rip something off. So in here, really essential. And then it gets to a point where there's actually a split. Pre-running, I took them both a ton. I guess you could say the left was a little harder, right was a little easier. The right was kind of a bypass. The left was like you had to put your tires up and then drop over. being the race leader, I didn't want to be that guy who got hung up there or damaged my car. A big worry of mine was that when we went over that, we were gonna damage our onboard jacks, which we use to change tires. So if we did happen to get a flat tire, which quick plug, we didn't, all 325 miles, 0 flats, Toyota tires, baby. And wait till you see some of this footage. The rocks were gnarly. So I decided to be lame-o. I never actually took the man line or the hard line. I went the bypass every lap. I felt it was smarter, especially being the race leader. It was just an opportunity to make a mistake. And we had enough time every lap there. It was worth the extra 3 seconds to 5 seconds, whatever it was going to take, to be safe. So did that. At that point, you're still going through these big rocky stuff. It finally starts to open up a little and you kind of get up on a ridge line. At this point, the rocks go from being like these big round rocks to more like jaggedy rocks that are kind of floating around. Really great opportunities to get a flat tire. So at that point, you jump through, And this first lap for me, I was like, really, let's just cruise. Let's just kind of set like this medium pace and see what everyone else stacks up. We have 0 dust. We know the course is clear ahead of us. Like, let's just take our time. And yesterday they raced on this. We haven't seen this course in a couple days, so a lot of things could have changed. Rocks are going to be in different places. Like, it's just not worth the risk to come bonsaiing around a corner at 110% and go, oh my gosh, there's a boulder in the road now, which we'll get to in a sec. At that point, then you drop out of the rocks, running along all this kind of cross grain stuff, then drop back down, go by a remote pit, which was at race mile 13. We never went into the remote pit because we didn't need to, but pass them every lap. At that point, then we kind of head back out, kind of running through a valley, some washes, some rocks, kind of a fun section, honestly one of the most fun sections of the course. And then we get to, I guess, the most technical part of the course, the rocky section. So at this point, the rocks start getting tighter, more of them, and the speeds really start to slow down. And you really have to play it safe through here. So you start picking your way through. It's all these little rocky things, just opportunities to make mistakes. And then you kind of drop down into a canyon. When you start your drop down into the canyon, this is where I guess you'd say it's like kind of some real rock crawling, especially considering we're in trophy trucks. They're not rock crawlers, they're not ultra force. So drop down into there and talking with the UTV guys and stuff from the day before. They're like, a lot's changed, a lot of rocks moved, like take your time. My boy Brock Hager was like, yeah dude, just take your time. We moved a lot of rocks, and especially with you guys being so much wider, you're gonna have a lot of opportunities. So for me, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna cruise this first lap, which is great because when we dropped in there, boulders had moved, everything had moved. Our line was not the same line that we had been pre-running. Really had to take our time. We actually, at one point, there was a huge boulder that had moved. So like we came in and we weren't, we're skipping along, and we went, and then we were like sliding across our skid plate, which just is not ideal first lap. And then it touches, we've actually felt it touch the rear diff and drive shaft, which for us, you're like, oh, that is not how I want to start. We're only going 2 miles an hour, but you're like, please don't like ding it or knock a weight off or damage it. It's the worst feeling you have. So go through there. I had kind of a sporty line that missed some of the rocks. Didn't miss some of the rocks. It missed one part of the rocks, put us in another rock section, but then set us up for, there's a really technical right corner. So I had this big swing wide line, drop down into there. And then at that point, you get through the really steep rock crawling stuff, but then you're just in these rock kind of valleys for a little. You drop into this rocky wash, which had some really tight corners when, trophy trucks just don't turn that well in these slow speeds. So it's very nerve wracking, and, you don't want to back up. Yeah, there's a lot of just, so that first lap, really taking our time. At that point, then you kind of clear and you get into some, like, you're up on these like kind of plateaus, but they're filled with rocks. So 50, 60 miles an hour, and you're kind of just on edge, like, okay, looking for rocks. Okay, get through that. Drop down into some more washes, and then drop into a nice big windy wash with some big rocks. Come around this one corner, there's a huge opportunity just to clobber a rock. I actually almost got it on one of the last laps because you just kind of get ahead of yourself. You're like, oh, I'm in the groove. And then there's just this boulder that if you overcook, it will eat you. It will destroy you. Besides the point. And then So once you get through those kind of S washes, there's a huge hill climb, super big hill climb, pretty technical. In the all-wheel drive trophy truck, it's obviously not that big of a deal because, you go four-wheel drive, you're just point and shoot and go up this huge kind of S-turn, point, shoot, wind your way up, get to the top of the mountain. Beautiful view. We're up high. I think it's called Emerson Ridge. Don't quote me on that. I'm not King of the Hammers rock guy. But this is literally a rock trail in years past. Like, not a rock trail, but they use this as a connector. At this point, you drop down this gnarly, steep downhill. Very steep, very treacherous. A lot of room to make a big mistake. You're like, okay, don't screw up here. Because literally you're like sliding down and you're kind of finessing your way down. You're like, man, I really hope I don't like slide off a cliff or slide into a rock, get a flat tire or something. So you kind of really tiptoe your way down, get to the bottom. There's a couple little tight turns, make yourself, at that point, you're like, whew, okay, get down. And then you get down onto the lake bed. And at this point, the rest of the course is pretty fast paced. So you're like, all right, I got through the techie stuff. Let's get this party started. So rip across part of the lake bed. You're kind of skirting that part of the lake bed into some whoops, go make a big bank corner back onto the lake bed. And then we hop up, we kind of hook left and head up towards north part of the course, which this part's pretty fun. It's like this 2-track kind of SE, some big berms. You're just absolutely ripping 100 miles an hour. And it's just these big flowing berms left, right. Like it's pretty fun. It flows, and especially in the all-wheel drive. Like you're just going so fast. It's pretty fun. Once you clear some of that, then you end up into this little like sand dune rock crawl area. I know that doesn't make sense, but it's really sandy, and then there's just some giant boulders. So you kind of come in, go up this hill, and then you have to like big thing get the truck woed down up in these dunes, and then kind of do a pivot, tiptoe through. It's just this really tight little section for literally 100 yards, and then you're back through some big things and then back to wide open. This is pretty much just wide open, straight. There's some drops and stuff that you have to be cautious of, but for the most part, you're kind of just wide open through some whoops, do a couple things. Then you go into an area, there's some huge G outs, big G out, big G out. Take your time, then back to wide open, kind of flowy. There's actually a really cool section where you're doing like 115 through these massive whoops, and you're kind of just floating. There's a couple you just hit, and you just feel the whole truck kind of float, and then make your way through there, and then you hook a hard right onto the military base, which is pretty cool. We get a race on the military base. It's the only time of the year they let civilians go play in this part of the military base, so it's kind of cool. And the military base is very high speed, fast, just 120 miles an hour, up the hill, all the way, just cooking, kind of flowy back and forth. There's a bunch of different lines, so you have to really be smart to stay on the right line, because if you end up on the wrong line, it could take you to the wrong part of the course, or there were some G outs and stuff that at 120 just wouldn't have been pleasant. So very important for Mike Kim on here to be locked in. Go through that. So up the military base, then you do a big loop, and then you come back, and then at this point the military base, there's a little more rough, there's some G outs, come down, and then you start heading your way back down the military base. Now they're super fast. This one's a little rockier, a little rougher. Boogie all the way down, kind of do a quick little turn, another high speed, kind of flowy downhill, and then we jump off the military base. At this point, it's a bunch of chatter bump, and it's like little bumps like this big, which I know wouldn't seem bad, but they're just big enough, just little enough. They kind of suck, especially in the trophy truck. You're just like, because you're doing like 100. So you're just bouncing through those, finesse your way through all these kind of like, it's like these rolling kind of sand little whoopy things. Drop down into there. Then you're on a lake bed for a little, dodge a couple big puddles. Super high speed, just feels cool. You feel fast there. And then cross the lake bed, head up into these big sand whoop-de-doo roller things that just got, by lap 5 were just miserable, but get through there, and then hard left, down, then you go down Heartbreak Hill, which is, we've gone up it in the past. It's super technical, super rocky. So we kind of just dropped down in there. I took it really slow every lap. And then you head up into all that junk that we finished qualifying with. Just rocky, G out, blind corner, this, and you're just kind of finessing your way through. Then you really just take your time. It seems like it takes forever, especially those last couple laps. It just got so rough, so many rocks were moving. And then drop into Hammertown and do an infield just like qualifying. But, okay, that's kind of a lap preview. That's pretty much how the first lap went. We just went and cruised. At that point, we're getting split times. Okay, yep, you're 2 minutes up, like kind of just feeling out the pace. So go out for a second lap. This kind of still another, let's just pace. Let's not take any huge risks. Let's obviously push a little where we know we can, where it's safe. Other parts, let's just cruise. So same deal. At this point, we're kind of just cruising. Then we get radioed RJ Anderson, who's in another all-wheel drive. He started second. He's having issues. Okay, all right, he's out. Boom, boom, boom. Make our way through. At this point, we have Jurgensen on our tail. McMillan's making up some time. But for us, a lot of times we are just going through the rocks, really pacing ourselves, and then jumping into the high-speed stuff and just letting my Ford Raptor Optima Batteries trophy truck just do what it does, rip. So we would do that. And so first 2 laps were pretty easy, nothing big happened, nothing crazy. Then we came into pit. Lap 2 is complete. At this point, you can definitely tell, okay, the course is going to get torn up. We had a lot of moisture. It snowed a couple days before the race. So there's a lot of moisture in the ground, which is good, but it creates a lot of traction. What a lot of traction creates in this softer sand is big holes, 40-inch tires, 1,000 horsepower. If they have something to grab, they're going to dig. And that's kind of essentially what was happening a ton. Going out for a third lap, we stop, get fuel and tires in the pits. Pit crew was on it like always. They had a flawless pit, super good. There was a couple little delays, but overall at this point we had a good enough lead. It was no concern. Let's make sure we pit these guys right. Let's get them out, go out. At this point, we get another call that Luke McMillan is out of the race with some type of failure. So now 2 of our, tighter competitors that I was a little more stressed out about, Luke McMillan, RJ Anderson, they're out of the race. So for us, for me, I'm like, okay, just like we talked about, just like the team talked about, we're just going to cruise. We're going to set the pace. So at this point, we're getting split times, and we just start setting the pace. We lost a little bit of time in the one section, so we picked up that next section. Okay, back to our 3-4 minute gap. Perfect. All right, let's maintain there. So we finished that lap. Going out for our 4th lap, things at this point, we start catching lappers. One lapper, we caught Ford Ranger thing. I'm not sure what it was. We caught him in the rocks. They knew we were behind us, but I don't know, for some reason they wanted to run. They thought they were a lot faster than us, even though we'd already caught them, even though we'd caught 65 miles on them. But we're not going to get into those details. But we caught them right going into the rocks. For me, at this point, I had a decent lead. I'm not going to push through the rocks in this dude's dust to try to, I don't know. Yeah, that's what they thought they were faster, whatever. We'll let them run from us instead of they weren't being generous and pulling over, which I get, it's racing, but when you get caught, you should just pull over. So at this point, we're like, all right, we're just going to cruise, let this guy go do whatever he wants to do. He does him, I'll do me. Yeah. So we just waited till we got out of the rocks, and then as soon as we got out of the rocks, we turned it on and we knew it was safe. We passed this guy. It was very annoying because he was just dusting us. He was slowing us up a ton. And he knew it. He kept seeing us and running. But what can you do? So we passed this guy. He's the first of many lappers. Well, not a ton of lappers. Overall, the pace was pretty good. I think a lot of guys ran really good. It was really impressive to see how many guys we didn't catch. I think that's a good sign that people were doing really good. So I thought that was really cool that we didn't catch as many. To be honest, I thought we were going to catch a lot more. But this Ranger who thought he was kingpin, dude, he was our first guy to catch. Dude was in last place. I wouldn't normally talk smack, but this guy wants to be a keyboard warrior. So we catch this last place guy. We pass him. At this point, we start catching other lappers. For the most part, everyone would see us, pull over, or just get out of the way like you do when the leaders are coming. typically in most motorsports or every other sport in the world. At this point, you know, it's lap 4. The course is tore up. Things are hurting. At this point, I'll be honest too, I had to pee really bad, and I couldn't pee through my catheter. So I'm just kind of miserable, wanting to pee, want to be out of this truck, trying to pee. So, and it was rough. So we're just taking our time and trying to conserve the car. Go out, come in for lap 5, go out for lap 5, get another fuel, tires. At this point, our crew was spot on, super fast. Pull out of the pit. A buggy pulled out right in front of us in the infield, so I had to get a little racy with him, but it was fine. He was generous, pulled over. And then, yeah, 5th lap, man. 5th lap was brutal. We really just kind of set that same pace we had been running all day, but man, it was just so rough. The holes had gotten huge. The rocks had moved everywhere. It was just really like, all right, we're leading the race. We have about a 4 or 5 minute lead. Don't go screw this up now, Christopher. 65 miles, there's a lot of opportunity to make a big mistake, especially out here at Hammer. So picked our way all the way through there. At that, like I said, just took some time through the rocks where we needed to. Really, Mike Kim's like, dude, don't screw this up. I'm like, all right, Mike, just constant. He's patient. He's like yelling at me, patience, easy. I'm like, come on, Mike, I got this, dude. But I do get a little excited, especially for me at 5th lap. I'm like, all right, this means it's gonna be over soon. Let's hustle. The faster I drive, the faster this is over with. So go do that, and then yeah, we go, and yeah, at that point, bring her home, and it was a good day. Led wire to wire, qualified first, and just kind of set our pace, ran our race, which I think, you know, there's a lot to say about going out and running really, really hard all day. It's super fun. I mean, personally, I think that's what us race car drivers are programmed to do, is just go out and kind of like kill mode, just run 110% all the day. But when you have to set a pace and cruise and maintain and manage equipment and be smart, it's a long day. So I will tell you that it's a mentally long day, physically, mentally, overall. You're like, I was pretty worn out. And I woke up that morning with like full body aches. There had been the flu, or I don't know what it is. Seems like the flu going around our whole crew. So for me, yeah, waking up kind of not that healthy, and then going and doing that, it was a long day. I was, I'm not gonna lie, I was very, very, very happy to get out of that truck after 5 hours. Our race time was literally 5 hours and 30 seconds. So I could have been cut it a little shorter, would have been a little cooler, say 5 minutes flat, but we'll work on that next year. But overall, I mean, it was a pretty sick way to start the season. Ran up front all day. We were hyped. The team was hyped. I was super proud of how everyone worked. Showed some of the work we did in the off season paid off, and it was cool to go back to back King of the Hammers. Yeah, it was fun. It was super, super fun. And one of those things that you look back and you're like, man, I do love racing. It's tough, it's miserable, but racing trophy trucks is something special. So yeah, that seemed like a really long rant for a pretty short race. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. But at this point, I'm gonna log off because I'm still sick. I'm all hopped up on Dayquil and coffee, and I got a lot of ride-alongs to go give. So we'll see you on the next one. Be sure to subscribe if you like these videos. We do them for every single race. The Baja ones are pretty exciting. And the rest of the week, we're here in King of the Hammers filming some pretty rad content. I just drag raced my 1,000 horsepower all-wheel drive trophy truck next to some pretty cool things, including this thing behind me. I think that's the first time you've ever drag raced a helicopter and a trophy truck. So that's a wrap.